Today's review is brought to you in collaboration with our friends over at thedjhookup.com. When I think of rotary mixers, I think about delicate blending, long transitions, analog warmth, and a minimalist design that puts its entire focus on smooth mixing. But I also tend to think of them as fairly limited in today's digital world. So when using a rotary, you're often signing up for a device that doesn't really give you the technological benefits enjoyed by most DJs, like onboard USB sound cards and high-resolution screens or digital inputs for modern DJ decks. So AlphaTheta aims to fix this problem by offering a hybrid analog-digital rotary mixer. I often sign my videos off with the phrase keep on spinning, but I'm usually referring to, like records or decks or something. But today we're actually talking about the mixing of the actual music, because we're talking about the Euphonia today. Admit it, you thought it was called Euphoria. The Euphonia is built in the tradition of rotary mixers, and that means it's got these spinny bits instead of the up and down motion of channel faders. So let's dive right in, right here on Passionate DJ. The Euphonia is the first mixer released under the AlphaTheta name, and in fact is the company's first ever rotary, including Pioneer DJ mixers. So it's a simple, intuitive, and classy 4-channel hardware mixer with an extreme focus on sound quality, both in terms of the way that it internally mixes tracks together and the overall sound output. On top of the way it sounds, the Euphonia is meant to feel special. As a matter of fact, the rotary faders will literally feel a little bit different by design, depending on how hard you turn them. There's a high-quality display, but it's fairly small and minimalist. It displays an emulation of multi-channel analog VU meters. The sides are made out of painted wood, the knobs are finished in copper trim, and glossy surfaces meet up with a matte finish. It has effects, but only a few, while providing a send network for you to add your own. The overall design is delightfully unfussy, and embraces the hybrid nature of this mixer. And one thing I really like about the release of the Euphonia is actually the fact that it's being produced by one of the biggest names in DJ hardware. Because often DJs who prefer rotaries have to resort to older, out-of-warranty products or, their bespoke designs from smaller companies. The fact that this is produced by the same company who makes the most popular club mixers in the world gives a little bit of purchasing confidence when committing to a piece of hardware that costs $37.99. And another plus side is that you can actually buy it straight from a DJ hardware retailer, such as the sponsor of today's video, the DJ Hookup, which is where you should buy a Euphonia, or any other piece of DJ hardware for that matter, because the DJ Hookup is the highest rated online retailer for DJ gear. If you order a Euphonia, you'll be able to take advantage of free shipping, extended warranty options, or even 6 to 18-month financing. The DJ Hookup sells DJ equipment to their friends. Friends are real people who care. That's why they have real humans who actually like helping you and are available 7 days a week. So go ahead, click that link below to open the link in another window to check out the Euphonia on the DJ Hookup while you watch the rest of today's review. So the main thing that we need to talk about with the Euphonia is its general sound character and its sound quality, because that is the big deal with this thing. The sound quality on this is just top notch. The way that the sound output sounds, the way that the tracks are mixed together in the mixing bus, the way that these isolators and the analog saturation just adds a little bit of color to the sound. It all just sounds really nice. Now, this is something that's obviously impossible for me to demonstrate on a YouTube video for a number of reasons. You are going to be listening on a different set of speakers than I am. We're going to be listening to this through YouTube compression and so on. But all I can say is this thing sounds really good. I set my speakers up right here, right next to my face, really close to my ears, and I compared it to my house mixer, which is an old DJM 850, which still sounds just fine, but with an A-B comparison, I was definitely able to hear, especially when I start boosting these isolator signals, some of that nice just extra beef in the bass and extra sizzly highs. You just really get that analog warmth, to use a common term. Being a hybrid mixer, it has a really high-grade digital analog converter built in. In fact, it's a higher-grade DAC than even the DJM V10, which is already a great sounding mixer. So what happens here is no matter the source of the signal, whether it's a digital signal such as plugged in through USB-C using rekordbox, or say a vinyl record, all that sound ultimately passes through an analog transformer circuit. And it was designed by Rupert Neve Designs. Now, Rupert Neve was this legendary maker of analog audio circuitry and mixing desks and stuff like that. And that equipment is used by artists and sound engineers all over the world. Those guts have made it into this mixer, which is pretty cool. The intent is to kind of add, analog harmonics and quote-unquote warmth to the entire mix output. But it's really enabled by the way that the screen works. The screen kind of shows you an ideal range for giving it some analog saturation without clipping. It shows you this little white range on the screen, and we'll come back to that screen here shortly. But overall, the idea is that it's a good, clean sounding mixer, but when you boost it into these ranges, either by just kind of turning the rotary knob for each channel up, or by boosting low, mid, or high band with the isolator, you start pushing it into that saturation sound, and you get that pleasing, extra bassy, extra sizzly sound that you can only get from an analog transformer circuit like this. And so as we talk about the layout of the mixer, you'll notice that, first of all, it's just really handsome. The first thing I did when I opened it and took it out of the box is said, damn. Like, it just looks like proper audio gear, and I really like the design language that AlphaTheta is starting to take, with the coppery accents and this sort of like mating of a matte texture up against the glossy texture. It sort of really indicates the hybrid nature of this mixer. It looks classy and classic and old school in a lot of ways, but then at the same time it has this lovely high-resolution screen up here, which is showing you analog meters, except they're not. It's a screen, but it looks like a classic VU meter, which is pretty neat. It's got some built-in effects, but it's not crazy with them. It's got 5 built-in effects and a high-pass filter, which we will demonstrate shortly. And then all your parameters for the effects are here at the top right. Your master volume control here is a nice chunky rotary knob, as are your channel faders and the master isolator. And those knobs are, it's hard to describe, but they're just extremely heavy. And this is, this mixer is about long blends and precision and subtlety, and so you might want to be turning these knobs just a little teeny bit, and so they have a really heavy feel to them in a good way. And they're actually designed so that if you spin them faster, they're supposed to kind of let up the resistance. This was in the marketing material for the mixer, and I'm not sure if I feel a whole lot of difference, but I will say that, if I'm at the 12 o'clock position and I just need to slam the fader out, I don't have any trouble doing that. So it's not a crossfader, obviously. There is no crossfader here. This is not for scratch DJs, if that has not been made clear by now. But it just gives you this nice, smooth rotation, like an old school volume knob on a 1970s hi-fi stereo. It's just got that kind of feel, whereas these are more your standard knobs up here on the EQ and stuff. They feel like normal, but these have that kind of tension to them that just, I don't know, it feels great. Now we have a 3-band EQ for each channel, and we have a send knob for each channel. So even though this mixer does have a few built-in effects, it's got this pretty robust send and return system, and each channel you can just send however much of the signal you want to the effects, and then it will return that to the master output. So if you want to hook up an external effects box or a guitar pedal or something like that, and then this is where you would select how much of that signal you're sending and returning from the effects. Now let's talk about this master isolator. Now this controls the overall EQ, basically, of the mixer output. So you can use it to do a full kill of a track, or, just give, your hi-hats a little more sizzle or something like that. But really what I've found is that with this particular mixer, it actually sounds really great if you just boost them all a little bit and leave it. So what I found in my room here with the speakers that I'm using is I like to boost the lows just a little bit, and the mids just a little bit, and the highs just a little bit more. And it gave it lots of rounded bottom end bass, and it really brings out the sizzle of those hi-hats and that kind of stuff. And it just adds a little, I don't know, crispiness to the sound output. And here's a quick example of what it sounds like kind of coming through raw audio versus, you know, with a little bit of analog enhancement. And I don't know if you're going to be able to tell a whole lot through a YouTube video, but here's the best example I can give. Now, another cool thing about the Isolator is it has the send buttons above it, and what is happening here is you can literally send just the audio output from, say, the mid band or the high band or low band to the effects, and it will only affect that area so of the audio spectrum. In other words, if I wanted to have a delay effect or an echo effect, I could only apply it to the highs or mids, and so you don't have that rumbly kind of boom, 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 boom sound, but you still get the effect that you're going for. Over here to the right, you can actually select the boost level of the Isolator. So what this is doing is kind of selecting the effectiveness of each of these knobs. So if you have it at +6, which is where I have it, then I have everything boosted a little bit, then obviously it's going to boost it more if I push that to +12. So you can kind of basically select, it's almost like a sensitivity selector for these knobs. And so let's just do a quick demonstration of what the built-in effects sound like and how it works with the Send network. Now up here, let's talk about the screen, because this is really cool. By default, it's in this sort of, it's like emulating an analog VU meter. And as I turn up the input channel here, you'll see it start to react. And so we've got the needle bouncing there on the screen, and up here in this white section, it's kind of showing you the sweet spot of where you want these tracks to land to get some of that analog richness without clipping. You want to keep it out of the red, of course, but right in that little white range is kind of where you want your tracks to land when they're at quote-unquote full volume. Now, as I start this next track and bring it in, you'll see on channel 1 here, another needle shows up, and it's bouncing too. And so I can see on that meter both channels and kind of how they're interacting with each other. And there's a legend here at the top left in case you kind of forget which color is which. And it's really neat because you also have a spectrum analyzer built right in, showing kind of behind the needles. So you get an overall idea of what your mix output looks like and what each individual track is doing. Now, if you don't prefer this view and you want something a little more modern digital looking, you can just hit this view button. And we've got this view here where you still get the spectrum analyzer and you get each channel on its own little bar graph. You can also hold this button down, the view button. It will bring you into a utility menu, which you can use to control all your kind of basic record boxy things like your attenuator and mono output and stuff like that. You can also change from a few levels of brightness here, where you just click the button. I think that's really handy and convenient to just have that there as a quick button to be able to hit. You also have your master insert up here, and so this is if you want to add an effects box kind of to the entire output of the mix, you know, like an RMX 1000 or something, and return it back to the mixer, then you'd be able to do it there. Over here to the right, you have your booth and headphone settings. So you have a 2-band EQ for your booth, just in case you need to be able to clear up the booth to be able to hear a little better. You've also got a mono split or stereo selection, so if you prefer to do a Q mix, you can do that here. Your mix between your Q and master and your headphones levels right there, and then of course you've got your small and large headphones jacks below that. And over here on the left, you have your mic controls. It does have talk over function and a 2-band EQ for your mic. So you're pretty much set. And then that's basically all there is to talk about on the top of this mixer. It's very not fussy. It's very straightforward. It's minimalist. It's really in the spirit of these rotary mixers where there's not supposed to be a whole lot going on here. It's about letting the music talk. It's about subtle mixing and subtle changes, and it's about doing a lot with a little and just sounding really good doing it. And this Euphonia mixer really embraces that nature of the rotary mixer, which I really appreciate, and at the same time mashes it together with this modern digital setup so that you can actually use it in a way that you want to. Look, rotary mixers of the classic type are great, but not everybody is mixing records all the time or even plugging in CDJs or something like that. They still want to use their laptop, they still want to, you know, do these things, but they want that analog warmth and they want the rotary feel and all this stuff, and this is the first mixer I've ever seen that really brings that all into one cohesive package, which I think is pretty neat. Okay, so let's talk about the back of the mixer, the ports and connections, where again, we really see the analog digital hybrid nature of this mixer coming out, because as you can see, we have digital inputs, which is not something you would normally see on an analog rotary mixer. We have phono and line inputs on each channel. And we have a USB-C port here, which is great. So I can plug this straight into my modern MacBook without a dongle or anything, and it just works. And record box popped right up, and it told me that it did need to run a little update, but once it got that through, the mixer popped right up and just started working. So again, this is really great because you could plug in a digital connection to your CDJs, and it will still get the benefits of that analog circuitry when it comes to the output of the mixer. It's gonna, for lack of a better term, boost and enhance the audio that comes out, which is really great. So you're kind of enhancing even your most digital, cleanest sound by adding those analog harmonics and stuff to the mix. Now we have XLR master outputs, of course, and 1/4-inch booth outputs, of course, and a record output with RCAs here. Now here is your master insert, send and return right here. So if you have an overall effects box that you want to apply to the whole mixer, and then here's your send return for your individual effects. So if you're hooking up a let's say a guitar pedal or an effects box that you wanted to affect per channel, you would put that right there. Then of course you have your balanced mic input here and 2 ground pegs for those of you who are going to be using turntables with this thing. And another thing worth mentioning is that you do get a locking IEC cable here, so that is really nice for safety as well. At the end of the day, the Euphonia is a niche product. You either like rotary mixers or you don't. And this video wasn't made to convert anyone. If you found this video, you're almost certainly not cross-shopping the Euphonia with a DJM A9 or a Zone 96. You'll be comparing it to one of the high-end boutique rotary mixers already on the market, or some old-school kit from back in the day. And the simple fact of the matter is that, as of right now, I just haven't spent significant time with any of those other rotary mixers, and I wouldn't really feel comfortable trying to give a real comparison in that sense, especially in regards to how they sound. If you have a rotary that you love, please tell us all about it in the comments below. Now, what I can tell you is that the Euphonia sounded very pleasing to my ears, and it added a real noticeable pleasing color to the music that wasn't really present when compared to my normal digital DJ mixer. And the Euphonia brings something else to the table that all those other rotaries don't: playability. A rotary mixer usually comes with some level of compromise, mostly due to their analog nature. AlphaTheta has released a mixer that doesn't require you to give up the convenience and usability of a digital setup, while still having a pleasing analog warmth added to the entire mix bus. You can plug it into your laptop with a USB-C cable or connect it to CDJ3000s with digital connections, and you get the best of both worlds. And that hybrid nature of this mixer is what makes it so appealing. You get to have your cake and eat it too. So if you're already sold on the idea of rotary mixers and you want to know if I think the $37.99 price tag is worth it, in my opinion, yes. It looks, feels, and performs like the pro-level piece of hardware that it is. And it has all the modern connectivity options I need. Now, if the rotary feel is what you're after, but not necessarily the super high-quality sound guts, you might try to find a Rane MP 2015. Just be aware that it's a digital mixer and you don't get that extra fizz. And so there you have it, folks. That is the AlphaTheta Euphonia, and those are my thoughts. It is a bit of an expensive mixer, and obviously it's not going to be for everyone. It's a niche product like we talked about earlier, but if this is for you, then you probably know it's for you. And if it is, then you should click the link in the description below to go buy yours at the DJ Hookup. But for now, that's going to be all. Thank you so much for watching today's review on Passionate DJ, and as always, keep on spinning.